Facing challenges and overcoming setbacks is part of doing business. Whether you have the expertise to survive them or not could mean the difference between success or failure. Welcome to We Are Women, featuring revealing conversations that provide invaluable insights into the success secrets of female masterminds. A must listen for every entrepreneurial woman. Now here's your host, Janeen Vosper.
Hi, it's Janeen Vosper, and welcome to this episode of the We Are Women podcast. Today I have Sandra Zeldes. Now, Sandy is a spiritual cowgirl. I'm going to find out what that means. Celebrity chef turned healer and subconscious transformation expert with over 2 decades of experience helping high-achieving women ditch the shame, cravings, and self-sabotage cycles that diets never touch. She's a certified nutrition consultant and advanced EFT practitioner who blends trauma-informed healing, functional medicine, and the nervous system repair for real lasting change. Her clients, they're CEOs, creatives, and powerhouses who've tried everything and are done pretending they have it all together. Sandy's the creator of the #1 best-selling Daily Om.
Daily Om, yeah.
Yeah. Healing subconscious blocks to weight loss, and it's been featured on NBC, Fox, CBS, and ABC. And the Wall Street Journal. That's an interesting place to be.
Yeah, long ago when I first was writing so much, I've also written articles for a lot of other outlets.
Excellent. She helps women stop outsourcing their work, break free of hidden patterns, and finally feel at home in their bodies with a little grace and a lot of truth and 0 diets required. I'm really pleased to welcome you on here, Sandy. We had a little different things with time changes and stuff like that, but we're here now. So thank you.
We're here. We did it. Yeah.
Excellent. This is a beautiful flow on from a recent interview that I did, which we talk about patterning, brain patterning. So this is more, to do obviously with, part of it is with that diet part, but it covers everything once you stop blaming yourself for things too. So tell me a little bit about you, and not that part that I just read with the bio, but about you and why you do what you do. And I know your email address is Eat Like a Goddess, so that's really interesting. And the spiritual cowgirl. So go for it, Sandy. Tell me.
I mean, so many stories to tell, but really the long and short of it is, I've had a love affair, with food, of course, my whole life as a chef. And there was a story on my chef site where even as a little girl sitting around the table with family, I said to my grandmother, I was 5 years old, "Grandma, when you die, can I have your recipes?" And like started crying. And so I've had this love affair with food. I loved cooking. I dropped out of graduate school and started cooking, and it was like a miraculous career. It was really fun. And that's a story of success as well, that just from passion, I always tell people, you've got to follow what I think we're most successful, following what we're most passionate about.
Mm-hmm.
And I was. But even with all that success and knowledge and information, I had studied nutrition. I'd been teaching nutrition. I had taught courses at Sur La Table, Whole Foods. I was, prolific and cooking for celebrities and on and on. And I've even cooked for a president, which is kind of funny. That's another story. But even with all the knowledge and information and success, I'd achieved what I wanted to achieve, I still didn't feel good, and I had cravings. And I was also exercising 6 to 7 days a week back then. But it didn't solve the problem, right, of cravings, and also what's under the cravings, the feelings, right? Feeling, an imposter syndrome, feeling not good, not worthy, not confident. And there was nothing it was funny that was the case, right? Because people were confirming that they were hiring me over and over. And I just felt, well, this can't be real, right? So that was over 30 years ago now. I've had multiple careers, and I was just thinking about that today, that it's actually been 30 years. That's how much time. So that's the synopsis of that and why I do what I do. I'm so passionate about enjoying food. As a chef, sitting around the table, enjoying food. And, I'd watch and back in the day, I would, do the salads and smoothies and the restriction and the diets and the cleanses. I had the health conscious woman's version, I call it. I was restricting with cleanses and things like that, right? Salads, smoothies, and going on restrictive cleanses and things like this all the time. And so it saddened me how much we don't enjoy food, right? We're constantly on diets, and our culture has gotten even more extreme over these 30 years that I've been doing this. It's insane. I can't believe I still have to talk about this, right? Like the dieting culture is so extreme, and our ideas about food. And so, I'm sitting in my apartment in San Francisco, and I'm thinking, what do I call what I do? And everyone who knows me, they were giving me all the stories, and I was like, eat like a goddess. Like, let's enjoy food, let's feel good about eating and not feel like we have to restrict, right? So it still resonates. It still kind of fits, as the chef in me wants everyone to eat and love food, not be afraid of food, not fear good foods, bad foods, right? And not even have to think about it, because this is a waste of our time and energy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we've got a lot more to think about or do.
Yeah,
Most of all, have. Go ahead.
I love that, and that's what really attracted me to that. Is it? I guarantee every woman on here is going to relate. Doesn't matter what size you are, relate to.
No, it doesn't. It's not about size. Yeah.
Some time to restrict what they're eating, and that word restrict, it has a real tension to the word, doesn't it, as well?
Yes,
and I'm thinking, if you're restricting yourself to something, then it's not something that's favorable to do, and the mind will be going, hang on a minute, I don't like that word, and your mind would be rebelling against it even.
And it's willpower, right? We're using willpower because we really would rather be eating whatever, So it's the war. It's that internal war that we have, and the voices in the head, and the constant anxiety, that's the trauma that people describe to me over and over, year over year, no matter how successful they are. It's not about the success. In fact, high achieving women, usually we push ourselves, sometimes because of anxiety, so I personally think it's an epidemic in our culture, and unspoken. I mean, more and more people are talking about it, but even now I see the focus on, well, can't I just do this quick fix? Whatever it is, whatever the cultural theme is, I can tell you that, back in the day when I was, the themes were vegan, raw, and of course those are still things I love, but I also include a steak on that now. I'm just saying, throw a steak with it. But we joke, but I'm a big fan of, us enjoying food and our bodies, feeling good in our own bodies. And again, like you said, it isn't about size. We can be healthy at our own natural weights. I have women who are 5'11", and their natural size is a 12 or 14 even. If, American sizes and sizes are all over the map, but I'm just saying we are all different, and then there's women who are, 5'2", 5'4", and they have a very petite frame, and their natural size is petite, and so however we are is beautiful, right? So it's about us feeling good in our own skin.
And that's the point of it, is feeling good in your own skin. It's, because everyone loves having their photograph taken, not, it's because it doesn't matter if there's 30 other people in the photograph, that we're so critical of ourselves in that photograph. And that's just how we view ourselves and look at ourselves.
And it's funny to me because I've had clients, I work with women all over the world. It's been 20 years now. And and sometimes we are on video and sometimes we're not. So sometimes I really don't know what they look like. And they'll send me a picture and it's just like the Dove commercials. I don't even remember the Dove's commercials from when was that? Like 10 years ago. Their whole campaign about Dove Beauty and how we describe ourselves. And so I would hear someone describe themselves. This is a really successful, wonderful woman who's got it together in so many areas, and you just know she's amazing. Everything in her life is, um, there's so much good, right, that
Mm.
she's doing. And she has a great family, and and they'll describe themselves in a certain light, and then I'll get a picture, right? They'll say, well, I'm going to send you pictures of my wedding or this or that. Here's the weight I want to be. And I often struggle to know what to say because the way we see ourselves is so shocking, really. Like just stunningly
Judgmental.
gorgeous. Yeah,
Yeah.
gorgeous women. Seriously, by I mean anyone's standards. In fact, looked like a Marilyn Monroe, this one woman I'm thinking of with brunette hair. She was just beautiful. And I thought, this is how you're describing yourself. I mean, I don't want to say it. It was just like she was just atrocious.
Mm.
And so that's not everyone. We don't all have, but there's these themes out there that we struggle with. And I do think it's a unique phenomenon for the modern era. Is this something that was going on in the past? Of course. But I think there's an interesting element here, for modern times.
Mm.
So,
And as you were talking about that, what I've just thought of too is the compliment. Oh, Sandy, you look great. Oh no, I just
no,
haven't
don't.
done my hair
Yeah.
today, or what? We don't just accept it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I find this all the time because I work with women to speak up in their own voice and to be able to have the confidence to stand in their own power. And I find this all the time is that accepting that compliment, as you're saying, these people look amazing, and they're thinking they're judging themselves very severely, and that's part of that not being able to accept a compliment is because of that subconscious voice placing
Yeah.
judgment on everything.
Yeah, exactly. And so I always talk about, I mean, so, in the work I do, I'm working with people who have a lifelong issue, right? Not just, and sometimes a recent issue like a divorce or a death. And there's like a lot of stress and trauma that's built up. So I work with the emotional issues. And what I can tell you about that is it doesn't come out of nowhere when we do that. It's not just cultural and it's not just kind of a surface level, and it's very common. So there's no shame in blaming it. It's coming from somewhere, and usually there's a tip of an iceberg when we're, kind of um, feeling a lot of anxiety about food and our bodies and all of that, right?
Mm.
So I've noticed the connection just from working with people. I mean, there's studies, but there's a theme, with trauma from certain ages or certain experiences or things we pass down, mothers pass down or family members. Um, and it's very traumatizing and it sticks, whether
Mm.
we're conscious of it or not. The theme of a focus on body image or weight with anyone in the family, but typically I will say it's the mothers.
Mm.
In my experience, doesn't mean it can't come from an uncle or something happening with men, but the diet focus, the body focus, the shame, or the restrictive diets. I can't tell you how many clients I've had. Not all. I mean, I say this, and then someone's going to think that but it's a lot of different patterns. But one of them is being put on a restrictive diet really young,
Mm.
and it's very traumatizing for children. So, um, one of the outcomes of this work that I feel really uh, just is very profound, frankly, is the effect it has on the next generation, when women heal and feel peace with food in themselves,
Mm.
because then they don't pass down, the restrictive food habits and the, you know, all that to the next generation. or let their sons, it's not just their daughters, but let their
Mm.
sons see them feeling this way, right? Like mom, kids pick up on things, they know how we feel. I think.
Yeah, no, definitely. And that's so important. And I know we're talking about restrictive diets and those people that you're working with, but I'm assuming it's also people that can't control or have patterning where they.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
And US has got the biggest obesity problem in the world. It's, so you've got the one side to the other, haven't you? It's
Great. It's really interesting, isn't it?
yeah.
So, you look back, I think it's Julia Ross is very interesting. She's written books about it, and she has a history of kind of dieting in the West, in America, but it's the Western culture. Starting out, I mean, obviously there's themes pre-70s, but we have an era that happened of dieting. And studies show that once you restrict calories even 20% for any reason, you can create an eating disorder in someone after 2 weeks. It only takes 2 weeks. Imagine that. So yeah, they know what they're doing. The diet industry, everything I believe I really feel it's orchestrated to get us addicted, to get us focused on our bodies and shame and kind of shut us down, basically, when women were kind of entering the workforce. It's just an interesting time. That's all. And it's just an interesting phenomenon. And it started in the 70s. And so the more you introduce dieting, I mean, everyone hears this, but I don't think they really understand that it's a physiological thing as well, not just emotional. You cannot restrict calories. And for a long period of time, in just regular people who'd never had a weight issue, you create an eating disorder. It's very much how it works. And so I'm very much against trends, to be perfectly honest. I mean, doesn't mean there aren't times and places. It doesn't mean I don't agree with aspects of, but I just feel like it's so toxic, the atmosphere of constantly the next thing, that's going to solve every problem, because it doesn't. And it doesn't solve the emotional
No,
issues with
I'll be happy when.
I'll be happy when.
Yeah.
And it doesn't work like that. Happiness is the way, peace is the way. And you can find peace with food.
Yeah.
You really,
and that's such as restrictive was a powerful word, the word peace and peace with food. That's quite powerful, isn't it?
every
It feels so
single client.
comfortable there.
Yeah, that's the goal. That's the goal. Because it's never been about the food. I mean, as much as you can create a physiological reaction by doing all these habits, right? So we've got two things happening. We've got the core issues. So the tip of the iceberg issue is how people are behaving with food, and feeling about themselves and living in anxiety, right? And then under that iceberg is the history. Usually, I mean, the people I work with, there's a history there. And most frequently in childhood, right? So before the age of 12 for sure. And then some things, later teenage years, some things, and it's not to say later in life there aren't things, but our core patterns are really coming from long ago. And that's why we don't really understand. All of us, we're all the same. I mean, we might know something happened, but we don't really see the correlation to how that is a causal indicator for our behavior. And you only know by releasing it. And I use the word release because I use a technique that I've become an expert in over lots of years. I first heard about it 34 years ago, a long time ago. And I was using it back then, but not in any way with clients, just using it with my friend who was a psychiatrist. And it was really interesting, actually. And so Yeah. And then I became serious about it, became a practitioner. As I was going back to nutrition school, I was looking at all these healing modalities. So I combined all of that. And long story short, 90% of the issue is really the healing work. And it's very simple and it's very elegant. It's not talk therapy. It's more of a letting go process. It's like the feng shui of the soul. It's like
And that's EFT.
decluttering. Yeah, I think of EFT as like a decluttering process, but not it's peeling back layers of the onion. You don't have to be conscious of exactly what's going on. It comes up when we're doing the work and
Can you just
it's
explain? I know what EFT is, but some of the listeners might not.
Yeah. So it was founded, well, it had to start with someone else, but I'm going to start with Gary Craig, coined the terms EFT, emotional freedom techniques, and it's literally emotional freedom. And it's working with acupuncture points that have been mapped for thousands of years throughout the body. And you don't have to believe in it. You don't have to understand it. It just happens to work. So, and it's not distraction, it's not, it has a genuine effect. And there's been studies about what it does in the body. And you can even see it in a client session in minutes. You can see blood pressure go down. And of course, the stress hormones are going down. But that's just that's just great stuff right there. But the powerful, it's like psychic surgery. You pull out thorns that have been there so long, and then you get to resettle and you start to restructure beliefs. The subtle changing of beliefs is what really happens, where you can eat like a goddess, you can eat whatever you want, and you're not sitting there dieting every day, and restricting and feeling sick and the shame that comes with it. That's the symptom. Of something from childhood. Can I tell you a story about?
Yeah, sure. Love stories.
Yeah, I have so many, and this is making me think of a client who's such a sweetheart and really sweet woman, and she'd been struggling, just with dieting basically and restricting lots of different diets and struggling with cravings for her whole life. I think she was 65 when we were working together, and started when she was 14, I think. I could have the date wrong, but it is around 14, maybe a little bit earlier. Some people, it's much earlier. It's not always teen years. And for her, there was repeated patterns of abuse. And while that is a pattern for some women, it's not always the pattern. So I just want to put that out there. I'd say 50% of my clients have this history. And when it's there, it's very obviously very traumatic, obviously. And women, even if we have bad relationships or we've had a lot of negative experiences with men, or we're not comfortable with dating, or something's going on, we protect ourselves with weight too. And so it's not just food behaviors, but you cannot take off weight when you have a subconscious need to stay safe, period. Your body will fight you. I mean, it's crazy. It's so brilliant, Our bodies are brilliant, and they're just trying to help us, right? And so for her, it made so much sense. It made so much sense out of everything she'd survived. The trouble was, though she knew about these things, it's really interesting how we still can behave from something that happened, 55 years ago or 50 years ago. And it's frustrating for people, right? It's very frustrating because you're like, well, that happened so long. Why is this happening? We carry it. We carry our stress and our traumas. The weight of our stress, the weight of our histories, the weight of our trauma, the weight of anything that happened to us. And it's how it works from my experience working with people. And it's very literal. It's very real. And we don't realize how it's impacting everything in our lives. I mean, I think it sounds obvious that it's impacting our lives, but these are very successful people, most of them. In the world, you can be successful being a stay-at-home mom, and I'm all for it. And so I have people of all, I'm not, saying that you have to have a certain achievement level in the world, but most of these people have. And so they're so frustrated with being stuck with this, and they're not necessarily looking for the next level of achievement, right? It's not top of mind. They feel fine. But after doing this work, letting go, whatever they need to let go of from the past, it is such a freeing experience in every area of their lives.
And it would affect everyone else in their lives as well, I'm imagining.
Oh, it affects the kids, their relationships with kids. It affects their relationship with partners every time. I mean, every time. But really fun is their creativity changes.
Mm.
And it's different for every person because we're all different. Everybody has their own, I feel, template. We all have our own kind of divine, kind of inspired path,
Mm-hmm.
And so what makes you happy is, not the same for me, or maybe you love doing something a certain way and it wouldn't work for me. And, but one of my clients made more money on vacation in Italy and brought her husband and wasn't working hardly at all than she'd ever made, killing herself and binging and freaking out and being anxious, for this brand that she created, an American brand that she was famous for. But she was so restricted, right? And after the work, she had no anxiety, wasn't binging, wasn't stressed, was super happy. And this is all very quick too. This isn't like years. This is a couple months. And she had an inspired idea that she never would have thought of before. And she kind of laughed. And I said, you need to do it. I said, you go do that. I was like, just do it. Why not? And we worked on the fear of doing it. And she sent out a little email on a Friday. And that weekend, her agent got back to her and she was off to Italy for 3 months, making more money, like I said. So that's the kind of thing that's possible for us, but we don't know. She was already successful, but she was suddenly happy. And it was this beautiful creative project in Italy. And of course she's worth it because she created this brand for this famous American company. Of course, and they said yes immediately to her, right? So that's what's possible when we are clear of
And
stuff.
often when we get stuck in our stress, we've got all these other symptoms. We're exhausted. There's, there's a whole lot of other things, and we don't stop to recognize that there's something there.
Oh, no, we don't know. All of us, right? We get stuck in the stress mode, and stress is like a destroyer of our optimal success, and our health, obviously. But, the amount of health issues we all have from stress that we take for granted. We usually think, well, I'll just have that. That's one of my favorite things that clears up. And it's not even part of the wish list when I work with people, but it's like, oh, I didn't tell you I'm, all my inflammatory markers are down. And, this one woman thought she was going to have a heart attack, and all those symptoms are gone. And she was very obviously excited. Even crazy problems like, I'm thinking of all these clients recently, like a foot problem that went away, like it's just all related. Our body's talking to us all the time, all the time. All of us, we embody, and men are really fun that way, actually. Men really embody, in my experience. They express it through pain. Yeah. It's really interesting, actually.
Yeah. Yeah. And look, there's so much has happened, in the world in the last 5 years as well. And there's so much going on in the world also.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
that's stress. And if you happen to be a person that watches mainstream media, then you're bringing more stress into your body every time because there's nothing ever good on that. It's
terrible.
Just finding the problems of the world. You're being bombarded, and I think a lot of people just want to push through it.
It's hard. We're all in it together. We're all dealing with world situations and lots of new problems. Like there's been a separation of, that's the biggest thing that I think, in my mind anyway, the first thing that comes to mind is the separation that's happened amongst people is very traumatic. And for us as individuals, and then the changes in work life for a lot of people, there's been a lot of changes. And
definitely has. And I don't know how it was in the States, but we're from the issues 5 years ago created a lot of separation is a great word, but a split in beliefs. And now in Australia, with the government that we've got, people are very polarized. And I know the US, it's very polarized one way or the other as well. So then that sort of causes, that stress within, if you don't happen to agree with what is going on in your own country. But it's that separation for me that I just feel divided. It's probably a better word.
It's unnecessary.
Country seems very divided, and the world is very divided. In Australia,
it seems like that's what they want. That's what they want from us.
It is what they want. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't play that. I try not to play it, but and I think I advise, like, why would we see other people that way? They're not a meme. They're not a social media post. They're a human being. I've always had friends of all walks of life and different beliefs. Even though I'm very opinionated, everyone who knows me knows I'm very opinionated and strong-willed or whatever. But I still really, I see people as people. I don't know. So I think that even though, and it's affected me deeply too. Very much it's thrown me off at times. And I think it's been an opening for all of us to go deeper into, like, lots of new stuff has come up. Okay. Like stuff that I thought I'd worked on and I was done with, I'm like, wow, that stuff's up, so it's layers, and, it's just human. We're just, however, I will say that I think that, how do I say this? I'm not sure how to say it. I think that our perception of stress does change depending on how much healing work we've done on our past traumas, right?
Okay.
So less triggered, less need for the world to be a certain way for us to be happy or feel safe, or although, obviously it threw us all off. Like there's a lot of things that have thrown me off, especially, things that changed dramatically that affected everyone I know. I know so many entrepreneurs who lost businesses, and, very traumatic in the censoring that was going on, and, affected everyone I know. So, there's real world stuff. However, how we tolerate dramatic, world events and situations really does have to do with our individual ability to handle stress.
And
right.
Yeah, I think we can have another whole conversation.
I think we should. Maybe
I think we're sitting on the same wavelength.
We might want to have another one. Yeah, I'm doing another podcast about this too with somebody else. But I'm
quite controversial as well, Sandy, and people know that.
I'm very controversial. I was censored for speaking up, and I am a big fan of authenticity, and I don't think people should be censored for speaking up. And I was very disappointed in social media. I was a big adopter, and I had a big presence and everything. And so you'll see that now I don't approve of social media very much. But it's a necessary evil in some ways, right? To talk to people.
Absolutely. I had people come to me and say, well, I'm not going to work with you if that's the way that you are. And then I have other people come to me and say, I don't agree with you, but I'm going to work with you because you're brave and
I don't think
courage
it's
and you're
necessary
authentic.
to know. Yeah, and I don't think it's necessary to know. Everyone knows I'm a natural health practitioner since I was a baby. Like I was a little girl, and my mother brought us to these little corner, health food stores. Like, this is not a fad for me. I've studied this. I used to, in college, I was going to write one of the papers I was asked to submit at UC Berkeley for, to do a PhD thesis, but it was this whole project anyway. But I could have submitted it for a PhD project. It was all about exactly the work I do now, which is crazy. I've been on this path forever, apparently, but just taking healing from all angles, the food, the environment, right? The stress, the societal, the childhood trauma, it's all of us, right? So the whole person. But anyway, it was about belief.
Mm.
And yeah, I still have that paper. I just unearthed it when I moved. So
Good.
handwritten back in the day when I was in college.
It might be time for it to have the light of day. It's
Well, it's just I could barely, yeah, I could barely read my own writing. But
this is what what you're talking about, and that's one of the things with EFT, that it can reduce or
absolutely,
tap into
it
the
removes.
subconscious.
Absolutely, that's what it does.
Mm.
And so you don't ever have to know, you just start where you're at. And I always describe it like peeling layers of an onion, always. Because the core of it is always how we feel, in my experience,
Mm.
there's usually some hurt, obviously. There's hurt, there's wounding, there's anger, there's resentment, there's usually hurts, and worthiness and how we feel about ourselves is the core wound. And children always blame themselves, right? Especially the younger. And we have to actually to feel safe, because if it's not, if it's us, it's something we can control. But if it's somebody else who's supposed to be in charge, you know what I mean? Then that's too scary. So it's 100% coping mechanism that's human. That's what we do.
And we've got to push through. I mean, that's what we've always been taught.
Well, we don't even know we're doing it, though. We all just grow up around it. It's like a carrot grows around the rocks, and like, we survive, we thrive, and most of the time, it's also our strengths. So it's not a negative. Like, I feel like a lot of our strengths and our giftedness and our, it's an opportunity. There are opportunities, there are gifts, our challenges become our gifts and our opportunities every time. Every time. I don't know how I could say that 100 ways, but I've said it so many times because I see it. So like the bigger the challenge, the greater the opportunity, right? And so I just see that happen for people, all of us. So it's not that, oh no, this happened and it's so awful, and oh no, I'll never be the same. It's like, well, you are you because of it.
Mm.
You probably wouldn't necessarily want it to be any different, even though it has created things that don't work for you today. We get to work with that. Like I had a very stressful childhood in many ways. And there's a million good things I think that came out of that, that made me who I am.
Mm.
And I can't change that. And I wouldn't want to at this point. Like I can't even imagine, and all that good stuff came with those challenges, but I also don't have to live in anxiety for the rest of my life because of it.
Mm.
So we can take the gifts and let go of the parts of it that aren't working, the anxiety, the stuff that provokes anxiety and feeling lack of confidence and stress.
Mm. Yes, and when you're anxious about anything, then you can't make good judgments.
No.
You're basing those judgments on a place of fear or withdrawal rather than stepping into it. So it does affect everything that you're doing in life, and then that's where the eating the wrong food and doing the wrong thing, and then they have the feeling shame and guilty.
Right. And we can push through with willpower and all of that
Mm.
and have a lot of success. Graduating college, starting that business, doing all these things that we all do. And it's great. And I think of my clients who've achieved so much. And then the one who when we release the stress and the anxiety, suddenly she has an inspired version of herself come into play that has so much more freedom in it and fun for her and money, just so happened.
Yeah.
And I bet she created something really cool that summer. I don't know, but she was fine.
How does this fit with intuition? I mean,
Oh, sorry, that's what I was going to say. I forgot what I was going to say about that. So yeah, so the intuitive is where you really want to operate, and inspiration comes from that intuition. And so when we release that stress, like one of the number one things we can do is let go of the stress, because it blocks intuition, right? So when you feel your own intuition, that's the answers in my experience that lead us to the simpler path, the easiest path, the funnest path, may be the best path for us in a given situation. Does that make sense? So like I watch people take business classes and years ago I was in like every class and everything. And I watch people struggle with implementing and doing things. And I always thought, I know I will fail at that because I hate it. I know I'll fail. I'm just, my mom raised me a certain way, and for better or worse, I can only do what I love. I mean, she gave me that. She definitely gave me that, me and my sister, that
Yeah.
very proud of us for doing what we love. And we're both super creative entrepreneurs, like we just go crazy for stuff that we love. And, you can fall flat on your face, but you do it, And so I know myself, right? I can't follow the path that I see, this person do that I know they're going to be great at because they're okay with that path. Do you know what I mean?
And
Early on,
that's something, that judgment on ourselves, going, well, especially with social media. Oh my gosh, that person looks amazing. That person's successful. We don't know what's going on behind closed doors at all. And we don't know what's going on in that person's mind. But we're making a judgment of ourselves and by comparing with someone else.
Right. And I decided I didn't like to travel. This was like 15 years ago. And I watched everybody do a lot of traveling and stuff. And I was like, I'll be miserable. I just want to be with my horse, right? Like, I want free time. That's my happy. So I was like, I love to write, though. Back in the day, I loved to write. Now I don't anymore for some reason. But I used to write. And oh my goodness, I would write. That's why I was prolific with writing. And I would write great email stories about things. And I loved writing. And so I knew I could do that. I knew I would enjoy that. It would make sense. It would have energy that was me. I don't know how to explain it any other way. And it worked. It was successful. But if I had gone traveling and doing all the things, I just think it wouldn't have worked. I don't think I would have succeeded that way just because I was miserable, And I used to joke that I made more money riding my horse, spending all day with my horse, and then I would have work around him than any other, like that was how I made money. Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Just it was like I did more then. I was a highly achieving, doing less. And that's how it works. That's how it always works, I feel like, is when you're the most happy you can. And productivity increases when you're happy, right? When you're relaxed, right? We know this. So it's not about how much you do, it's the potency of what you do, the effect of what you do, right?
Absolutely. And that's a little bit like the podcasts that I've been doing. So your podcast will be 188 podcasts that I've done over the last
that's amazing.
10 years. And they used to be every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks now. Why do I keep doing it? Well, I actually love being able to learn from people and to hear different perspectives from different people and things that I'll go, yeah, that's great, I'll apply it. Other things will go, somebody else will need to apply it. But I also have found I'm good at it. That's another thing. I absolutely love doing it because...
And you love it. Yeah.
I love it. Yeah. But I've had people... randoms. I was traveling to a remote town in outback Queensland, and this person was helping me with the phone, and it popped up my Gmail, which was wearewomen@gmail. And she said, oh, I listened to that podcast. And it was just as random. And she said, I said, oh, I'm Janeen, that's my podcast. And she did the whole fan thing, and it was amazing. We're both in tears, and she said, it's changed my life. The people that I've heard you, and I've heard other people, and I able to step up for myself in a situation, move away from it. I'm now in this town that I love, working with people and doing a job that I love, and that's another reason that I love to do it. You don't know what that ripple effect is. You don't know the cause. By you changing, or by you doing what you're good at and that you love doing, you may never... For me to have run into this woman 2,000 kilometres away in a remote town, and only because she saw the Gmail, I don't know that, and you don't know. But as you said, finding your creative and being able to reduce the stress, and then doing something that intuitively seems to be right for you, is just so important to be able to do that. And it does reduce stress when you're doing things that you love.
Oh, it's alignment. It's alignment. Being in alignment with what you really, who you really are, what you really love, and kind of expressing your, I call it a divine. I think it's already there. We're born with it. And it comes natural to us. And so we often overlook our own natural gifts because it comes so natural, So the thing, I don't know who said this. You might know the coach, but there was a business coach who used to say, I wish I could remember who it was, that the thing that comes the easiest to us is the thing we should make the most money for. And it's the thing we often overlook, the thing that's natural to us, like, intuition is probably my biggest gift. I can just see things when I'm talking to someone. I don't like the word psychic, but it's intuition. I can understand very clearly and see where to go, for healing. I do it with animals as well. It's the same work. It's really the same work. But I can see, I could just see it. And I've always had that. I was a little kid and I did that. So now I have tools and, certifications and, I've done training wheels.
It always makes us feel better when we have those, doesn't it?
Yeah. And I don't use it the way people think, you know what I mean? I have to intuit. It's the only thing I know how to do.
Yeah.
Do well anyway. Like, I feel like I'm really good at that. And everybody has their gift. I have a friend who's great with images and, seeing style. We all have our gifts, right? You have a gift of inspiring people through bringing people together and other things too, I'm sure. But this is obviously a gift, that you.
I've got a filing cabinet that works in my brain, which is really interesting. And that's one of the reasons I don't get overwhelmed with ideas and things. I just open up a file drawer and pop it in there and then close the drawer, and then that's forgotten until I get, oh, that's an idea. I can pop back in that drawer, and I pop back in that drawer, and then I close the drawer, and I don't have to be thinking of. I didn't realize everyone doesn't do that until a few years ago. And it just means I'm not constantly overanalyzing and thinking of things that aren't important at the particular time. But when an idea or thing pops in, I'll go, oh, I need to know that now. And I'll do that, pop it in. So, yeah.
Super logical. It's good. It's clear. You're very clear,
Yeah. It helps. It helps organization and things like that. So it's one of the things that I've had to learn over the years is I don't have to be in control of everything. And so that, because of that way of thinking, it does lend itself to the negative, which is control. But I've learned, my guides have come through and they gave me a bit of a beat around the head. And
I think it's impossible not to have a need. Like, I wonder if that's just one of our lifelong as humans is like letting go and, letting this divine inspiration, which I feel is like the key to everything, actually rule our lives and take over is, I think it's hard. I think it's the challenge. I think it's one of our biggest things is to let go.
Definitely. And that's part of, we'll wrap it up now with the closing points, but that's what coming back to what you do with people with their stress and the food issues is with the EFT is to be able to let go of those issues.
Is letting go of the past, letting go of, letting go of emotion, letting go of stress, letting go of beliefs. So we can hear our own inner voice and intuition is really definitely what it comes down to. Yeah.
We always wrap up with, because we talk about so many different points, is there three particular takeaways that you want people to remember?
Yeah. So I think the first one, because I know people feel a lot of shame and, they can't believe that they're so capable and why can't they implement and, they get down on themselves. So the first thing is just there's no shame or blame in this. It's a pattern and it tends to be a very common one. And so it is changeable with the right approach, looking deeper.
Can I just say the person that I've interviewed on the previous podcast, one of her takeaways was no shame. or blame.
Yeah, no shame. I mean, you don't have to be ashamed of it. It's very common. You're not alone, it's a very common way in which people cope with anxiety. In short, the word anxiety fits for what we're really doing. And I would also say that, I say this in different ways. I used to quote Eve Ensler, your body's not broken. There's nothing to fix, but it's protecting you. In many cases, whether we're conscious of it or not, we don't have to be conscious of why. And the third thing is, let's all, what if some of our greatest challenges comes incredible opportunities when we do this work, like just the kind of opportunities you couldn't even imagine now that will become miracles in our lives, right? From doing this deeper work. It's a massive miracle, really, the outcome.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, I like that. And it's just being able to clear some of the stuff that we need to clear to open the door for
Feng Shui.
Yeah.
It's like, you got to declutter your house. Well, you got to, we declutter ourselves a little bit.
Yeah.
And continually.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sandy, I have absolutely loved our conversation. How do you want people to get in touch with you? What do you want them to do?
So they could go to my website. I'll be posting a link for the podcast when we have it. And it'll have a couple different options. There's the Daily Om course they can look at. It's a low-cost online course. There's a free audio on my website. I kept it very simple on purpose to just experience 10 minutes of stress relief using tapping. And then they can also work with me. They can fill out an application to talk to me about working together. And so they can go to eatlikeagoddess.com. That's a very older site. You can see the evolution. I purposefully didn't forward it because anyway, it's different, but and sandyzeldes.com. And I know my name's hard to spell, but we'll have a link, I think. Yeah.
There'll be all the links in the show notes and everything.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's the way to find it. And I will have a direct link with those for the podcast.
Excellent. Yeah. Excellent. All right. It's been great having you on here. I have always enjoyed conversations I have with different people. And as I said, I think we're very much on the same track with a few of those particular issues. As well, which is
real pleasure talking to you. Yeah. And so it's great to connect that, we had that. I didn't know it was Australia at first. So that was crazy. But
we got the time zone. It's all good. No, that was great. Thank you, Sandy. And that's another episode of the We Are Women podcast. Remember to go when you're listening or you're watching on YouTube to subscribe and leave a 5-star review. Greatly appreciate. I'd love your feedback as well. And if you've got any questions, go to janeenvosper.com and book a strategy call. I'd love to be able to connect with you wherever you are in the world. And look forward to you joining us next time on the We Are Women podcast. Bye-bye for now.
So, do you feel stuck in a rut in business? Visit speechperfect.com.au and download Janeen's free ebook to avoid the 5 most common stumbling blocks women face in business. It's jam-packed full of tips to overcome the barriers that could be holding you back from the success that you dream your business will be. We would love you to leave a review of today's episode and share this podcast with other women in need of entrepreneurial inspiration. Subscribe to the next episode now and join the We Are Women community.